We're live? Dang. Okay, hello everybody. This is Small Axe Talks. I'm here today with Angela Peacock. Just to give a little background info, I actually originally met her or reached out to her by seeing her driving down the road. She's a current van lifer, a veteran, and she was part of a documentary called Medicating Normal, which came out a few years ago, I believe.
Yeah, it just hit like Amazon Prime like last week.
Okay.
So we're just getting into the public, yeah.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So I'm sure there's a lot more that I don't know about her, and hopefully we'll find out here. So if you don't mind, before we get into talking about medicating normal and all that fun stuff, could you just give us a little bit of background info about your life and how you ended up going into the military?
Sure. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I was actually born and raised in Ferguson, and poor family, not very many means, and I knew I wanted to go to college, but I didn't have the money for that. So my dad was like, get a job when you're 15. So I knew when I turned 18, if I wanted to go to college, it wasn't going to be, it was either scholarships, which I didn't know how to do, or military. But also my grandparents were in the military, so it was always in the back of my head that, you know, you could do what they did. So very quickly after I turned 18, I joined the Army, took off. And I was really into like adventure and leadership, and I was always athletic, so it was kind of like right up my alley, you know. So I was in the Army for about 6 years, or maybe 5.5, something like that. And Baghdad happened. Well, 9/11 happened. First 9/11 happened, and I was in Washington D.C. when that happened, and I saw the smoke because we were staying there for an Army activity, and I saw smoke coming from the building. And then I turned on the news and I saw the Pentagon was just hit, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? But the minute all that happened, I just knew, like, we're going to war. That's what we train for. That's what our job is. So,
so can I just, real quick, so how long had you been trained? You said how long have you been?
About 5 years.
5 years, wow, okay.
I've already been in, yeah.
And you were in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And why did you choose to go into the Army?
Oh, well, first, because my grandparents were both Army. Well, they were Army Air Corps, which then turned into the Air Force. But that and the Army guaranteed me $40,000 in college money.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, it wasn't easy. And they got guaranteed your job, where Marine Corps, they don't guarantee you a job. Air Force doesn't, they might give you a job based on how smart you are or something. So I was like, I want to go, I want to know what I'm getting into before I leave. So the Army was a natural choice.
And what was that like as far as training? And was that easy for you to get used to as far as like being on a schedule and people kind of telling you?
Well, it was a lot of running, a lot of push-ups, a lot of, I just remember being exhausted, but I remember I gained like, I think 20 pounds of muscle in basic training.
Wow. So
I went from like 115 to 135, and I could run really fast. Like I would beat some of the guys and they would get mad at me. But then, what was your other question? Oh, but no, there was one point in training where my drill sergeants were all yelling at me, like in my face, and they were screaming and screaming. And I just stood there and they're like, aren't you going to cry? And I was like, no, my dad yelled at me my whole life. You don't scare me. So I was already kind of tough. Like, yell at me all you want to, you know, like who cares? So I liked it. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So when 9/11 happened, what went on from that point?
So 9/11 happened, and then I was stationed in South Korea at the time. I flew back to South Korea after they lifted all the travel restrictions because like no international flights were going anywhere. And then basically South Korea was locked down. Everybody was walking around with weapons, loaded weapons, to make sure nobody would come on the base or take anything over. And then I reenlisted for Germany. I ended up in Germany next. And then the training just started. Like they just send you on training missions and you're constantly in the field, what they call it, you know, so you're out like setting up all your equipment, acting like there's a war scenario, except there's not really a war scenario. So I knew like, here it comes. It's coming.
So you said you re-enlisted.
Yep.
So that means you re-upped on a contract. Is that how that works?
Yeah. So I did 4 years originally and $40,000 for college. And then I did 4 more years as a reenlistment for Germany because I wanted to go to Europe really bad.
Okay.
But that I actually reenlisted right before 9/11. I didn't never think about that until
that's
now.
what I was going to say. I was going to be like, wow, that's bold. After that happened, to reenlist,
No, it was before.
Okay. So you're set for like 4 years.
4 more years, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So then we deployed to Iraq, and then that was May 2003. So I think the airport was taken over like March 21st or something. So we got there like a month and a half after the war started. And then I quickly realized that like they kept saying Operation Iraqi Freedom, we're going to go save the Iraqi people from this horrible dictator. And as soon as we started driving into Iraq, I was like, this is not what I thought. No, these people are shooting at us. They don't want us here.
Wow.
And then you get closer and then you start seeing like Halliburton, Kellogg Brown and Root, and all these companies are there. And I'm like, how are these people here before we are? Like, what is going on here? And so very quickly I'm like, this is a racket. You know, they say war is a racket. It's like you make lots of money for people to be rich, and then all your friends die. And like, that's kind of what war is.
Yeah, that's the whole problem with the military industrial complex, right? It's like you have all these corporations and companies that are profiting off of making weapons, and that's, you know, they got to sell the weapons. So it's like
Boeing,
probably somebody's going to use them at some point, you know? So, wow. So how long were you there?
So I was there for 6 months total, which is nothing in the scope of things. But that's my next story, I guess, is that I got extremely ill during Iraq. You probably saw that in the film.
Yeah.
So I got really, really ill, like almost immediately. And I think it was a combination of all the vaccinations that we got. We had to take doxycycline every single day as an anti-malaria preventative. Doxycycline is an antibiotic. And when you take antibiotics every single day, you lose all of your gut bacteria.
Yeah.
And so, and then we had like forced birth control shots, which is completely ridiculous to me thinking about that now. There was burn pits around me. Then there was just stress and not getting a shower for 4 months.
What's a burn pit? What is that?
A burn pit is basically we didn't have trash people. So we throw everything in a huge pit and then you pour gasoline all over it.
Holy shit.
And then you light it on fire. But that includes computer parts, you know, tables, wood, vehicles, computers, whatever. Your poop, everything goes in this pile. And
I've
then
never heard of
it.
that before.
And we were breathing that in. So they say like the Vietnam guys, they got hit with Agent Orange, and our Agent Orange for our generation is burn pits, because we all have toxic exposure and we breathe that gas in. And a lot of my friends have lung problems and lung cancer and brain cancer and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So that's what that is.
So you just got ill because of all those reasons.
All together.
The stress, everything, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
So how did you end up coming back?
So, long story short, basically we got a new commander, and she said like, you're gonna die. And I'm like, I know, I'm not doing well at all. I was passing out. I was having fevers. I couldn't keep any food down. Every time I would eat food, it would just come right out. I mean, it was like bad. Nosebleeds. My heart rate would go erratic. So she got me medically evacuated out. I returned to Germany. And then the next day, our convoy got hit. And that's when I saw my soldier wounded, and he told me the story. And this is kind of where life takes a U-turn. We all have those moments, I guess. But he was telling me the story. He's laying in his hospital bed. He's got staples from his chest all the way down to his groin, and he's got like a colostomy bag, and he's laying in his bed, and he's starting to get really upset and like, fuck these guys, and like, I just want to go back there and shoot the Iraqis that did this to me, and fuck our unit. And I mean, he's cursing and yelling, and I was like, okay, hold on, just calm down. Like, I gotta go. I'll come back, but I gotta go. So I left his room, and I walked down the hallway, and I saw a sign for psychiatry, because I thought like that's what you're supposed to do when you have emotional problems. You go to the psychiatrist, you know? So that's when all the medications started. They just started. Here's one. You have post-traumatic stress. Here's a medication for that. You'll be fine. And one turned into 2, turned into 4. And then by 2006, I was on 18 medications at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I've always wondered, is like, because the military, they spend so much money and research in all sorts of different things, but you know how the brain works and the mind works. And that's what I had wondered was there any other alternative to medication? But that's pretty much it, right?
Nobody gave me, and I didn't know. I mean, I'm a 24-year-old in Germany who just left Iraq and like just suffered these traumatic experiences. So when a doctor who's wearing a uniform tells you to take a medication, you listen. You know what I mean? I didn't have any reason to not trust that. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what did they put you on?
The first one was clonazepam, which is the generic for Klonopin. This is the same thing as Xanax, basically. And then it was like Paxil, Ambien for sleep. And then it was like Celexa because that didn't work. I mean, I've been on everything you can think of. Prozac, Effexor, Zoloft, like tons of them.
So what did you do when you came back? What were you doing?
What do you mean?
When you came back to the U.S.? So, I'm sorry, you said you went to Germany.
Yeah. So at first I was in Germany. Then I made a really stupid decision. I got married.
Oh, no.
That was pretty dumb. But
to who?
One of my, like a guy that I met like a long time ago, but I didn't ever like date him or anything. We just like were friends. And then I was like, hey, do you want to meet up? I'm back in the States. And the next thing we know, we like fall in love and get married, and we just like barely knew each other for a couple weeks. It was pretty stupid.
That's amazing.
I usually don't mention that because it was such a short period of time. But anyway, I got married, and then I was stationed in Fort Lewis, Washington.
Okay.
And then I was redeployed, which means they send you back to Iraq. But during that process, I had 2 ear infections, and so they sent me to the doctor. And then long story short, I was having a panic attack, and then they were like, you can't go to Iraq. You need to go talk to behavioral health. And so then when I went and talked to behavioral health, I completely lost my career for that because you can't be, they basically said I was post-traumatic stress disorder. You couldn't be around weapons. You shouldn't be around soldiers. We're going to start the process for medical retirement.
And you were on these medications
I was already
at that point
started,
in time?
Yes.
Okay, wow.
And obviously they're not working if I'm having a panic attack.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So then at that point I was processed out of the military. It took about 9 months. And I was medically retired with full benefits. Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
At 25, completely disabled.
So were you relieved at all, or were you just totally like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Or
I mean, I don't even think I had a chance to think about it until the day that I didn't have to get up to go to work. And I just remember laying on my couch and thinking, okay, my husband has to put his uniform on and leave for work, but I don't have to. And like, what am I going to do with my life? And I just had no idea. Zero.
Wow. So how long did you kind of take it easy and recoup until
I wish it was.
What?
No, they had medicated me so much that I was like completely couch bound.
Like a zombie.
Like zombie.
Damn.
Like I could barely like keep the house clean or do the dishes or cook dinner. And my husband was like, you are not a wife. You lay on the couch all day and you pop pills all day. That was it.
So what, as far as like being back, what was the schedule like as far as you going in and checking in with somebody, like talking about, okay, the medications that you're on, maybe we can take you off some, or
like
how often?
Once a week you see a therapist, once a month you see psychiatrist, and then like I would go to like support groups. I think I tried classes like Biofeedback, meditation. I tried all these classes, and I remember I got kicked out of a class because I tried to do this biofeedback. You put like a little like pad on your forehead and a pad on your finger, and you're supposed to like relax yourself, and then when you watch these numbers go down, like your sweat reflex and your pulse rate goes down, then it's supposed to like retrain you that you're relaxing. But it caused me to have a panic attack to try to do this like relaxation technique, and they're like, I'm sorry, but you have relaxation induced panic, which of course there's a label for everything.
The fuck?
So they kicked me out of that class.
That's the most retarded term I've ever heard in my life.
I know, me too. So yeah, my whole life, basically from that point on, my whole life revolved around doctor's appointments, therapists, telling people what was wrong with me, taking medication, spending lots of time at the Walgreens drive-thru waiting on my prescriptions to be ready, putting pills into your little container for like 13 years.
Wow.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Completely disabled. I didn't leave my house for 4 years at one point.
I heard that when I first heard that. I was like,
I wouldn't change my clothes. I would go to Walmart at like midnight and run in. And I was so panicked I couldn't even stand in line hardly. And I would just grab a bunch of stuff and check out and run out. It was before like curbside delivery. So it's like I just wait until midnight when nobody was there. Yeah. It was horrible. Lost all my friends, lost my marriage.
How long were you married?
Well, technically like 11 years, but we only spent like 18 months together.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't long.
Okay.
Yeah. So I lost my Army career, lost children. Like I didn't have kids. I didn't have boyfriends that whole time. Nothing.
So what, at some point you got involved in this Medicating Normal documentary. What kind of snapped you out of that whole? That's
a really good question. Okay. So let me think. What year was that? It was like 2006. So I had been on the drugs 3 years, and I did not feel good at all. And I knew I didn't feel good. And I met this psychiatrist who said, I'm a psychiatrist who doesn't believe in psychiatry. And that just always like, what does he mean by that? Like, what does he mean? So he took me off of like 10 of the drugs, and I was left on like 8. And then I just had this voice inside of me that was like, this is not you. This is like, who are you beneath all these medications? What happened to your goals? Why don't you have friends? Like, I just had all these questions, and I was just like, this is stupid. I just started getting really disillusioned. Like, every time I go to a therapist, they give me a new diagnosis. Every time I go to a psychiatrist, they give me a new drug. I'm sick of this life. I don't want to live like this, you know? And so that took me literally from 2006 until 2016 to get off of everything, one at a time. Sometimes it was like really fast. I was cut off in a month. Sometimes it was like 6 months of tapering. And then the last drug I came off in 2016, it almost killed me. And that was when the film found me, and they kind of followed my progress for 3 years.
So that's, you were getting off the last drug at that point. Wow.
Well, I had come off already, and I guess I should tell you that story, but I'll try to be quick. I had been tapering under medical supervision for 2 years, and he would just tell me I was only on, let me think, 3 milligrams of Ativan a day. That's basically like 3 small Valium a day. It's like nothing, you know? And so he would tell me every month, I just want you to cut off 0.25 milligrams. And I mean, you hear that? It sounds like so benign, like 0.25, that's nothing. Just cut it off. No big deal, you know? So that's what I was doing for 2 years, 0.25 every month. And then as I got lower and lower, I started getting weird symptoms. Like, I had extreme pain in my lower back where I couldn't even sit on a toilet. I couldn't sit on the couch. I had to like move my feet. It was like almost like I was a paraplegic. I couldn't move. My back was like, it felt like my spine was on fire or something.
That sounds uncomfortable.
It was bad. It was bad. And then I had like panic attacks increasing and intrusive thoughts. And then they turned into suicidal thoughts. And then it was like, I'm really going to do it. And I don't know. I don't understand this because I'm trying to graduate college right now. I don't want to kill myself. Like, this doesn't even make sense to me. My doctor never realized, as you taper down, there's less drug in your system, but you don't like easily reverse those changes because you've been taking it for so long. So he didn't recognize that I was in withdrawal technically while I was still taking it. They call it tolerance. Like, say you're used to drinking 2 cups of coffee a day, and one day you only drink half of a cup. You're going to get a headache because your body's used to 2 cups of coffee.
Yeah.
So your tolerance is so high, you need that high dose, but it's not really a high dose because, like I said, it was 3 milligrams. So they call that tolerance withdrawal. Like, you're taking it, but you're not taking a big enough dose.
So why do you think they just didn't have enough experience at that
They're
point
just,
and tapering people off?
This is the whole thing of the whole mental health industry. They don't study drugs long term. They don't study them in combination. They don't study what happens when you try to come off of them. So then they don't train the practitioners like how to take someone off safely. They don't know how to recognize when somebody's having withdrawal. And so patients are kind of left to themselves. And so we have a whole bunch of psych patients, which is like when I found this out, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, nobody knows about this? What do you mean? You know, because I have a psychology degree and a social work degree, and I didn't even know this existed.
Okay, so when you were getting off this last drug, you were also at the same time
graduating from bachelor's of psychology.
Okay. And you eventually got your master's in social work?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'm trying not to jump around all over.
No, go ahead. I know.
So the
There's lots to talk.
Medicating Normal documentary basically follows 4, or I guess you could say 5 people, and it's their journey on getting off of either antidepressants or sleeping drugs that help you sleep better and that sort of thing. But yeah, one thing I was shocked at in that documentary was when the one woman who's in the restaurant industry, and she was at the pharmacist, and the pharmacist was like, you're supposed to, I can't remember what the drug was, but you're only supposed to be on this drug like whatever, max 3
to 4 weeks.
Yeah, and she'd been on it for like
6
years.
Yeah, same as me. Same.
So that's what I'm saying is, like, the doctors aren't they like legally, isn't there any liability there? Like, aren't they supposed to be they don't have to read that stuff?
Well, this sad part is that pharmacists know about drugs way more than doctors do, but these drugs are mostly prescribed by general practitioners, family practice doctors, not psychiatrists. The second thing is, you as a consumer, it's your responsibility to read the pamphlet. And if you read the pamphlet, it would say, only take this drug 2 to 4 weeks. So it's kind of like when you take the drug, you're like letting them go of liability because they warned you. It even says black box for suicidal thoughts. If you experience suicidal thoughts, like, it's a known side effect from the FDA, but no, doctors don't learn about these individual drugs. I mean, they might study it for a couple semesters. Psychiatrists, of course they learn more about drugs, but it's more about like, okay, if the person has depression, we need to look at their serotonin system. So let's prescribe them something on the serotonin system, like an SSRI or an SNRI. Okay, if they're psychotic, they get an antipsychotic. It's more of like a algorithm, like a plug and play, like not a whole lot of thought put there about like what's going to happen when this person wants to come off.
So how did you get hooked up with the Medicating Normal crew, or how did they find you?
So they found me because basically I was 8 months off of all drugs after 13 years of being on them. And believe it or not, there is support groups for all the people that have come off drugs. And some of the names are like Cymbalta Hurts Worse, Surviving Antidepressants, let me think, Psychiatric Drug Withdrawal. There's all groups. They're on Facebook, they're on Reddit, they're on just the general internet. So I was in one of the groups, but I think it was called Benzo Recovery. And it was all people that usually got cut off cold turkey, like by their doctor. Their doctor retires, they move, they go get a job somewhere else, and they cut these people off overnight. And then they have seizures. And some of them die, and some of them have extremely, I mean, it's horrific. But anyway, I was in one of those groups helping people and trying to like tell them, you're going to be okay. It's just going to take a really long time. But that was my way of like getting through it myself, was to like help other people. So they just happened to find me in one of those groups.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you think today there's a lot more information on this? Is there? Okay.
Tons. But I mean, right now, I can tell you right now, let me think, if I count in my head, probably I could show you 200,000 patients right now tapering off or healing just on these groups right now, today.
200,000 people?
Right now.
Wow.
And those are just the ones that figured it out and went to find a group that have like registered,
Yeah, so there's another point in the documentary where I'm terrible with names, but the guy who was a veteran, his wife, Dave, okay.
Dave
so
and Bree, yep.
His wife was also on some sort of like ADHD medication?
ADHD,
Okay, yeah, so she was going in and visiting. I don't know if that was just a...
psychiatrist.
That was a psychiatrist,
yep.
okay. Well, yeah, that whole scene says a lot, in my opinion, because...
That's so common.
Yeah.
Exactly what you saw.
Because basically he was saying, okay, yeah, you could taper if you want to and get off, but we got something stronger and that can work for you. So...
that's the trap.
That was like so horrific,
But that's because that shows that doctors don't really know what to do with you. When you say, I want to come off a medication, usually they either do one of two things. They don't understand how to do that, and they'll try to keep you on, or they'll say, like, that's evidence of your mental illness, that you lack insight, that you need your medication. So that, like, the patients are trapped,
So what would you kind of say your experience with the whole Medicating Normal? Was that a good experience doing that, and you're glad you did it?
It was pretty exhausting. Basically what happened was I graduated college with my social work degree, and my lease was ending. I graduated, and the film's kind of coming out all at the same time.
And what year is this roughly?
July of 19,
okay.
Before the pandemic. And so I said to the filmmakers, what do you think if I go on the road in an RV and I kind of travel and show the film in different communities? And they were like, yeah, that's really cool. Let's do it. So I started out in St. Louis. I made it through Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, all the way to LA. And then the pandemic happened on March 12th, 2020, and totally ruined my whole tour.
Wow.
So we shifted to mobile. We just did it on Zoom, and that allowed us to screen all over the world. So right now we've done 180 community screenings. We've done 48 interviews with experts and people with lived experience. We've done I think 17 film festivals and won 12 awards. So I just did it from my van.
That's awesome. So you helped them out quite a bit. You're
Yeah.
part of the project.
Mm-hmm.
And all those interviews, can you find those on their website?
Yeah, everything is mostly on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
And you just find that by searching Medicating Normal. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy.
Yep.
So how much longer was that tour supposed to go if it wasn't for the pandemic?
I don't know. I think I had planned out a couple months. Like I'd planned a loop from California up to Colorado, and then just ruined everything.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was just gonna go until. So the whole film industry and documentaries especially was just totally changed forever from that, because traditionally film festivals are in person in a certain city and they go all out and there's like a red carpet and they show your film and they do a bunch of interviews. So now it's like, can't do that anymore. What are you going to do? So then all the film festivals went online, but then they had to figure out all the technology and like what platforms are we going to use. It was just a crazy time. Totally crazy.
I personally, I would much rather watch something on Netflix than go to a movie theater, you know? So when I watched with my dad, Medicating Normal, we streamed it on Vimeo. So I don't know what other platforms I think you said they're working on maybe.
We just got on Amazon Prime last week. And awesome. You can watch a shorter version of the film on the PBS app. It's not it's only showing in select cities, but you can find all the ways to rent or buy the DVD on our website, medicatingnormal.com.
Okay, cool. Are there any other documentaries that you know of out there that cover kind of a similar topic? Or
yeah, there's a bunch. Like, I'm trying to think. There's one called Crazy Wise, and it's about what if your mental illness symptoms could be like a spiritual awakening. And so there's a group of people that it could be a spiritual thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's one thing to think about. Let me think of another one.
What's it called again? Sorry.
That one's called Crazy Wise.
Crazy Wise, okay.
There's another one called, it's so close to ours. It's called Healing Voices. But it's about people with, they're labeled schizophrenic, but they go through like, they kind of explain the whole industry. Like, how do I explain this? Like maybe hearing voices isn't so scary. And if we understood that more, and we weren't so scared of it, we wouldn't medicate those people and hurt them against their will.
Yeah, that's one other point in the documentary that really stuck out was the young girl, and she started to see things, and then
from the medication.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, okay, it's not so bad, and the parents weren't so worried, and then the things started to talk to her and
touched her.
That's fucking crazy.
But then for people who haven't seen it yet, the psychiatrist was like, you know, your kid has schizophrenia now. We need to change your medications. But the parents knew, no, this is not what my daughter was like when I brought her to you. Like she had an eating disorder. She wasn't seeing things or hearing things, and they weren't talking to her. So thank God she has parents like that, because they took her off of everything, and now she's fine and she lives a normal life.
Did you ever have any?
I did.
No shit.
Especially coming off, I went completely psychotic. Yeah, what you would call psychosis.
So you saw things?
No, it was more like
that just gives me like the chills. Just like
I have never talked about this like in public. I will though. I don't care as long as you're not. Don't be scared of me.
No. I think it's interesting.
Okay, so like when I came off, I was so suicidal. Like I can't explain it, and the only way I can explain it is like it felt like my brain was so damaged that suicide was like an off switch. Like my body was like, you are too damaged, you have to die. Not like in a like I'm gonna kill myself because I'm selfish. No, it was like this body is not going to survive, and the more humane thing would just kill yourself, which is terrifying to like think about that way. But anyway, so then I had a friend that had killed himself taking Ambien a couple years before that. So at night, for some reason at night, it got so much worse, and I would literally like crawl through the living room. Like I can't even make it to my bed. That's how sick and I felt, and like just for 2 years, basically, and withdrawal symptoms for 2 years. And during that, so it was just like during the first 6 months. And so I would like crawl to my room, and I would just be like, there's no way I'm going to make it through the tonight. There's just no way. But I had given all my weapons to my family, and, you know, like said, I didn't say I was going to like kill myself or anything, but I did get rid of like any means. So I knew that I didn't have the means in the house, you know, but anyway, I'd go in my room and I would talk to my friend who died 2 years prior. And it was like he was standing in my room.
Oh, shit.
That was one thing. And then the second thing, there was a point when I was walking my dog, and I was like in the driveway because I couldn't walk very far. And it was a voice, and it was like, do you want to live or die? And I was like, what do you mean? But it felt like if I don't answer this question right now, I'm going to have a seizure and die in the driveway. That's how imminent it felt. And it scared the shit out of me. And then 4 months later, it asked me that again.
Oh my God.
And I was like, no, let me stay. No. Please, wait. I'm not done yet. And then I'm sorry. One more. I'll give you one more. Okay. The last one was, I kept thinking, this is like the first week off. So like the severest, the beginning. I kept thinking, we're all just reptiles and we're dinosaurs and people just wear lipstick and makeup, but like none of this is real. And like your clothes are just a costume, but you're really just an animal. It's true. It's just like a portal into a different way of seeing things. I don't know.
Wow.
But of course I knew, don't you dare tell anybody those things because what do you think will happen?
Yeah, that's interesting. That's where like, I've always been freaked out to try psychedelics. Like I've only used marijuana, cannabis, and alcohol. Like I've never tried any other drug. That's the part.
I'm more scared of cannabis nowadays.
Really?
Though. You should be because the THC is so high.
Yeah, that's
be careful.
Yeah. For me, I can smoke, and for some reason, like everybody's different, but I can smoke all day and don't like I only get to a certain highness, I guess, and I don't go past that. But edibles, I'm like super sensitive to edibles.
Even Joe Rogan says be careful with those edibles.
Yeah, I can only do 5 milligrams THC is like my
max.
That's perfect for me. Like I just get relaxed, but I don't get like paranoid and like So But have you? I'm sure you've heard because you love Rogan, so I'm sure you've heard of it. Have you ever heard of? It's like an organization in California. It's called MAPS.
Yes.
I can't.
Yep.
Have you ever looked into that or?
No, I did a panel with Heroic Hearts, and they're kind of into the MAPS also.
Okay.
And they're a project for veterans to try MDMA and psilocybin and ayahuasca. My brain is so damaged from all the medications. I don't want to even mess. No, I'm good. I have this like appreciation now of like feeling completely clean. Like I don't even drink caffeine. I drink a little green tea here and there, but that's literally it. Like I haven't taken a Tylenol in 6 years. I don't want to. No, I want my faculties about me at all times.
Yeah, I could understand that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So what this whole van life thing, was that just supposed to be temporary, or because I've wondered about that a lot.
Yeah.
I've always thought, hey, would that be a cool thing to do, like a way to live? Like, so when I know you said when you started it, it was kind of a part of the whole promoting the movie as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it was always like something in the back of my head. Even when I got married, we talked about living in an RV, and that was like 20 years ago. But I just thought to myself, if I don't do this right now, I'm not going to have a chance to do it because my lease is up, the film is ready, I'm done with my degree. All my friends were getting jobs like for $30,000 a year as a social worker, and I was like, that does not like sound like fun like to me. I was still healing from this whole experience, and I thought like, I need some time. And I think the most important part for me is I'm still doing this. I feel like I barely started, but when you don't have a life for like, let's see, from 2003 until 2019, so that's 16 years of being a psych patient, being on medications or healing from them. I want my fucking life. Like I don't even know what I like anymore. I don't even know like how to make friends or how to have a boyfriend or like national parks. That's a thing. I had no idea. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, and that's why I called it Being Human RV, was because I'm trying to embrace, like, I'm a human being. I'm allowed to have feelings. Some of those feelings are really hard. There's no medication to fix the human being condition. Like, it's just what we are dealt. And just wanted to, like, learn about myself again and get my life back. And all these things I wanted to do that I didn't get a chance to do. So, yeah.
So how are you going to continue to do that for quite a while? So when I originally saw you driving down Scottsdale Road, and I'm like, anytime I see somebody with a van, like I always, if it's cool, like I'm like checking it out. So that's why you have a pretty badass. Yeah. I think it's my van's sick pretty setup. Sweet. Yeah. I agree. And just for people out there, you did a tour with somebody. I think it's linked on your Instagram right now, but I thought that was pretty good. It kind of toured you through.
Yeah. I have a 2019 Winnebago Travato. So some people are jealous because they want you to self-build. Well, I don't have the brain power to build my own van, so I bought one that was already built. But yeah, so it's a 20-foot silver van. It fits in a normal parking spot. Yep.
So did you do a lot of research before you?
Yeah, this is my second one actually. I had one that was bigger, and I got rid of it because it was a little too big. And then I got this one, but now I feel like it's too small and I need a 4x4. So I might be trading it in here a couple months.
Really? Okay.
We'll see. Yeah.
So how has that been as far as like being, because a lot of people are doing that nowadays. It's a pretty like trendy thing to do. It's kind of the only way to like basically say fuck you to the system as far as I'm concerned.
Pretty much. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I think I expected it to be cheaper. It's pretty expensive. Like my stuff breaks a lot. I didn't expect that, but I don't have an apartment building, apartment rent. I don't have rent. I don't have a car payment. So I pay $500 payment on that. And then if I don't camp in a campground, it's free. So the trick is, the hardest part I would say is like, you're basically a homeless person. Like you have to find where you're going to sleep every night. So there's like a science to that. But I think that's the hardest part. And some people don't like that. Like not knowing where you're going to sleep tonight, but I kind of like that. And what's the word? I always say this. I hope nobody ever steals this because I'm going to copyright it very soon. That like not all, what do they call it? Not all who wander are lost.
Oh yeah.
But I always say like not all who are lost want to be found. Like I like I like that feeling of being lost. I like that feeling of like uncertainty of like, I don't know what I'm going to do and it's okay. And I think like a couple nights ago, it was like 9:30 at night before I was like, okay, Angie, you need to find a place to sleep. Like, where are you going to sleep? Yeah. But that would give some people like anxiety, but it doesn't bother me.
That's like, I'm kind of that way too, where I hate routine. Like some people can do the same thing every single day and go to the same place. Nah. That drives me completely insane. So that's one thing I think I'd like about that aspect of it is you're like, changing it up and, going new places and seeing different scenery and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that's cool. That's fun.
And I think the people have impressed me. Like I always thought like the world is dangerous. I mean, cause you see what's on the news and I've met so many cool people, like just down to earth. They would give you the shirt off their backs. I've had people bake cookies for me and bring me cookies the next day. Another guy made me a lunch and hung it on my door cause he knew I was going to travel that day. I was like, so I call it road magic, RV road magic. It's one of my hashtags where it's like, if you're in that flow of like what you're supposed to be doing, that all these wonderful things will happen to you. And so I'm not always in the flow because like today was probably not a flow day, but like I'm surprised all the time. The people, I even met some lady. Where am I? We're in Scottsdale. It was over in Thompson Peak Park. Do you know where that is? Yeah. I was walking in the park. This woman like walks up to us. This is like a week and a half ago. And she goes, "You live in that van?" I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Where are you going to sleep tonight?" I was like, "I don't know." Mm-hmm. And she goes, "Well, I have a rental house. Do you want to go sleep in the driveway?" And I was like, "Okay." Oh, sick. So I go over to the house. It's like $750,000 house. She like lets me park in the driveway. Yeah. And then just checked on me in the morning. "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm heading out." And turned out she had been a van lifer for a couple years, but she was much older than me. Oh, wow. Okay. But just like, how random is that? Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah.
And I just go with it.
Yeah, there's definitely something to like, if you're in a good mood, you have a good vibe, you're going to attract people, hopefully, that are on that same wavelength or whatever. So that's cool. That's really cool.
Keeps me going.
So you're going to continue to do it for a while then?
Yeah, I keep asking I rented a house for 2 months last year when I sold the RV, and I hated it. The minute I moved in, I was like, no, I don't want to do this. So, but I ask myself regularly, like, do you want to go home? Do you want to move to Boulder or Austin or Bend? Like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, nah, I'm not done. So far the answer's been keep going.
Do you have a bunch of stuff in storage or anything, or did you just get rid of everything?
I got rid of 90% of my stuff. The only thing I have left is like boxes of like military remembrances or pictures, and it's underneath my sister's stairwell.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, just like back to all as far as like the psych drugs and that whole industry, how do you see that? Do you see that changing, or do you see that? What do you think is going on?
I don't know. I think. Because when I was in college, I did a fellowship in DC, and I went with the VFW, which is Veterans of Foreign Wars, and I did a whole report about benzodiazepines and antidepressants and Iraq war veterans and like how dangerous they are and like how they increase our risk of suicide, all kinds of stuff. And I put together this huge packet, and I got to go pitch like actual lawmakers, and we worked with like Military Times. We pitched our story to the newspaper, and it was like every time I pitched it, these people were looking at me like I was crazy. Like, what do you mean these drugs don't work, or they hurt people, or they're no greater than placebo effect, or they were just like, nobody wants to believe that. It was like, no, we throw money at mental health, and that's how people get better, right? Like, that's the narrative, So after that experience, I was so glad to have the film and be doing that, because I thought to myself, like, this systemic change is not going to happen. Like, we have to educate people. Like, me talking about this right now. Now you two are going to think twice before, you know, if your doctor says, here, take Prozac. Because
so
you're
on an individual level.
So it feels like on the individual level, like, consumers have to be educated to make better choices. And I'm not going to say, like, don't ever take a medication again. Like, you might have to do that. I'm not judging you, but before you take a medication, I want you to at least know to, like, go read the pamphlet, or to ask your doctor, like, how long do I have to take this, and when can I come off, and what's going to happen when I come off. So that's been my strategy.
So do you think Dave, that was the other veteran in the documentary?
I'm really good friends with him.
Like, he had said, like, he thought, because what was it, like 4 years he had been trying to come off of?
Oh, like, yeah.
But he said he thought it had changed him, like, permanently. Is that?
I mean, I think it changed me too.
Really?
Yeah. Me and Dave are pretty, there's always a skillful thing in editing. Like, you only see certain parts of Dave, and then you only see certain parts of me, but you don't see, like, what overlaps or whatever, you know, and you don't see Dave's full story. But yeah, Dave, I think he's got, at 35 years old, now this is a guy, for people that haven't seen it, he has double master's degrees from MIT.
Yes,
he is a genius.
Right, that's right,
like, he is super smart, okay? And he was a naval commander, and he was in the Navy for like 12 years, I think. I could be wrong, but it was a pretty long time. But now he's been diagnosed with early onset dementia at 35.
Oh my God.
From all the medications.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's, and it's just traumatic to go through this, you know, to think that you're, like, you trust your doctor and you just want to feel better, and then, like, you find out, like, they hurt me.
Yeah.
And then they don't believe me when I'm hurt. You know, it's traumatizing.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I wonder how many people out there. Did they say 1 in 4 people in the doc? Was it
1 in 5 people is taking a psychiatric drug? 1 in 4 are women.
Wow. Okay.
1 in 4 of women. Sorry.
When they said that, that's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
And I was thinking of a lot of different things when they said that. But, you know, one of the things I thought about was, what about people? I'm sure it's different in different industries, but, like, if you're a pilot or if you're a police officer, they just opened it up.
They just opened it up to pilots. Now pilots can take it. And there was some pushback on that.
Oh shit! See, that's what I said, because Dave had said, he's like, at some point in the documentary, he's like, I have no, like, I don't love my wife. Yeah. I don't love my dog.
I don't feel anything.
Yeah, I don't feel anything. Okay, so that could be a bit of a problem if, like.
Well, do you remember? I don't want to be like a conspiracy theorist, because I'm totally not. But that German airliner who flew into the mountains.
Yes.
That guy was on like 3 antidepressants.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that could be an issue if you have somebody that has, like, a psychotic break and you're a pilot and you're like, fuck, I'm just going to, like, take this plane in the middle of the mountain. I mean, that could happen. I think it's just the nature of the drugs is that it changes you. That's what we say, how they work. Like, we want to change something. Like, we are too depressed, so we want to feel happier, or we're too anxious, so we want to feel less anxious. So, like, that's what the drugs do. And then when you read the pamphlet, it literally says right there, like, this drug can cause suicidal thoughts or behaviors. It says that. But then when it happens to you, or when it happens to a police officer or whatever, it's like the last thing that we think of. When we think of somebody killed themselves, we don't say, like, well, what medications were they on? Could that have caused it? We will always blame the mental illness. And I think that's one reason I stayed alive, because I was like, okay, if I kill myself, they're going to say I'm this disgruntled vet who killed herself and she was so troubled. And I was like, that is bullshit. That is not what happened here. What happened here is that these drugs fucked my brain up, and I'm going to stay alive to tell them about it. Damn, that's crazy. I like that. So do you, if you could have gone back in time, obviously you can't, but would you have rather had, like, if you were talking to whatever, somebody else in the military now, would you have rather have come back and just decompressed on your own? And
yes. And I think that decision to talk to psychiatry, I will always regret that decision. I'm trying to not be so regretful, but it completely changed the course of my life. Like, I was on track to be, you know, a recruiter, a drill sergeant, a staff sergeant in the Army. Like, I had an impeccable record. I had more awards than half my commanders did. Like, I was super soldier. And then that day just completely changed my life forever. But no, I wish they would have said, you were just in a war zone. You just experienced trauma. You just saw somebody who was wounded. I saw other people that were wounded on the plane back, you know, like tons of trauma like that week, you know, that you're going to feel like shit for a while. It's going to be okay. And I want people listening that, like, if you the same thing that I should have been told should be told to other people who are in a domestic violence situation or a rape, or you get bullied at school, or your kids, you know, like there's all kinds of trauma in this world. It's not just reserved for veterans and, you know, post-traumatic stress. Just like when you go through hard things in life, it's going to suck. It's not easy. There's no magic pill to take it away. There's just not. Because I can tell you, after taking meds for all those years, guess what? I still have fucking problems. And I still have to work on them. And I still have panic attacks. And like last night I woke up like 4 times. I can't sleep for shit. Because my body has never learned how to sleep, you know, normal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what there was also in the documentary. Another, I don't know if he was a psychiatrist, but he was talking about how, like, he was talking about putting people on these drugs, and he was saying, like, you shouldn't jump to conclusions, because sometimes it's okay to, like, be sad because you might be in a fucked up situation, or like there's a reason to be sad, so it's totally normal. But he was saying generally in whatever the time frame was, like a few months, these feelings go away for most people in most circumstances. Yeah. But if you're jumping to going to a psychiatrist or whatever, then that's probably going to be the first step. And
I think I feel robbed of my healing process. Like I didn't get that chance to just be with what I was feeling or talk about it, you know.
You had told me that you're kind of winding things down with the Medicating Normal documentary. Do you have any like things you're excited about for the future, or things you want to kind of get into?
I think I want to, well, I'm going to go to Mexico.
Hell yeah.
Because I'm so close. Like, why not? I heard that there's this place called Puerto Penasco or what that's like considered Arizona's beach. So I'm like, definitely. Let me go there. So I'm going to go there and just take a little breather. But I think I want to write a book, and I want to do videos like van life, almost like, not like here's a tour of my van and here's how you cook breakfast. And I don't care about that stuff, but like just my process, like how I'm working on myself and how I just went through like Sedona and did a bunch of healing stuff with these really woo-woo people. And I filmed some of that, like energy medicine. What is it called? Like a massage lady. I went to another lady that did craniosacral and myofascial release. And then I went to acupuncture and chiropractor. I just tried a whole bunch of weird stuff. And now I'm doing a therapy that's like online. So I'm just kind of exploring like all these new therapies. Because honest to God, after this all happened to me, I was like, I'm so anti-therapy. I don't want anybody poking in my head and telling me how to feel about something, or you need to work on this, or you need to come back next Tuesday at 1:00. Like, I don't want nothing therapeutic, because like that's what hurt me, you know? Yeah. But now I'm starting to be open to like, okay, there's things about me that I want to change, and I'm not really sure how to do that. But like, how do you do that without putting a label on yourself or going to professionals?
Yeah. So you're off of everything though. Totally.
I'm off of everything. Like, 6 years. Wow. Yep. 6 years and 3 months, I think. Yeah.
And for people who've never been to Sedona, like Sedona's a very
woo-woo,
mystical, like healing. So you like it there? You like going there?
You have to be careful, because you can get like, I went to this manicure pedicure lady, and she like read my numerology and my birthday, and like pulled a tarot card. You know, some of it's real kitschy like that, like dumb, like, okay, thanks, you told me nothing about my life. But I mean, it's fun to just do that because it's entertaining, but it's not real like healing. But then, so you have to dig, and you have to find like, okay, who are the real people that I should see that are, you know, helpful and not like trying to take money from me. So I found some of those from a referral. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
they're good people. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I think so her channel's called Being Human RV, right? Mm-hmm. Being Human RV. So yeah, I love, like for me, this is all I'm putting conversations up, and this is all I like doing. Yeah. I'm not interested in like vlogging or anything like that. But I think there's. Does
that sound interesting enough?
What?
Like me just talking about my process?
It sounds very, because I like I said, I'm interested in that lifestyle, so I'll find people that I'll watch, and I think you have a lot of other stuff to talk about, so it's not just that. So yeah, I think it's great. Yeah.
Even just like, I have a friend who does he makes films. One of them, I should have mentioned it earlier. One of them is called Take These Broken Wings, and it's about people that healed from schizophrenia, or who like explored like other, like maybe it's not some scary thing to be afraid of, but he's got a channel, and his name is Daniel Mackler, and maybe he'll be proud of me for calling him out, or really embarrassed, I don't know. But he just posts like videos of what he thinks about certain subjects. Like one of them is why I quit being a therapist, or another one is about like why it's bad to give yourself all the time, or another one's about this is kind of a controversial one, about fathers who like are slightly sexually abusive to their daughters, like put some clothes on, like those little jokes that dads say to teenage girls, and it's so inappropriate. Okay. So like he did a video about that. So just like his thinking, like I have these, because I drive a lot, I think about so much stuff, or I'll hear something and I think about it differently because of the experiences I've been through. And I just want to talk about that. And
I like the random rants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're very intelligent.
Oh,
you're interesting to listen to. So
thanks.
I think, that's
well, thank you for the vote of confidence, because I'm terrified, but we'll see. I'm like, I don't even care if I make any money. I just want to do it just to learn how to video edit. And
same here. I feel the same way.
Just to do it. Who cares?
Cool. So is there any, like, do you see, obviously you have a lot going on, see where all this helping people online, see where that goes. Do you ever see yourself getting like some sort of normal corporate type job? And
no, I mean, honest to God, I'm still on disability. I still suffer pretty bad. Like I have permanent visual problems, permanent balance problems. I had, like, just for instance, I had to go to the post office earlier, and it was like the most torturous experience. I could barely stand up just because I get so anxious from all the light and the sound and everything. So I'm still like, even the work I do is very limited and time sent, like I can work for 20 minutes and then I got to rest and then come back for, anyway. So it's been a struggle. So I don't see me working a 9-to-5 job anytime soon, if ever, because it's just all the stuff I've been through. I also don't work very well with other people. It's like a part of that's military and part of that's just like I have high expectations, and like I can't stand annoying, stupid, like people that are disorganized, or people that don't take things serious, or people that waste my time. Like, ugh. Yeah, so I'm like, I need to work for myself, by myself, at my own pace, and what I want to do, and that's the only way I'm going to be successful. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Like that. That's great. I remember what I was going to say before, is that's what the one good thing about your situation, anybody who's a veteran, is the fact that you do have some sort of
like a fallback.
Yes, because if you were in that same position, which I'm sure there's many people that are, and you had no other choice but to,
I'd be screwed.
Yeah. That would be rough.
So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Like, I'm disabled, and it stole like 20 years of my life now total. From the time I was let out of the military till now, it's been 19 years. So like, I guess I'm okay. I'm lucky, not lucky. I earned that workman's comp basically because I was injured in the military. So no, I probably would make way more money if that never happened. But I guess it's small consolidation for
that's true. That's
double-edged sword.
So, is there anybody, I know you're really interested in, or you follow along with stuff that's going online as far as like whatever the intellectual dark web, you've mentioned that before. Like, who do you like to listen to out there?
Oh, man.
People you like to listen to?
People are probably going to unfollow me when I say it. I really like Brett Weinstein and Heather Hewing. I just love thinking about things from a different perspective. So they think about everything through evolutionary lens. And they haven't really touched on depression and anxiety as much, but I want to like send questions to their guy to be like, you need to think about this, because I've been reading studies about like depression, for instance, the rumination, like when you lay in bed and you're like thinking about a problem, like, should I do this? Should I do that? Like, what if this person says that? Evolutionarily, we adapted to do that, to solve problems. So if you give somebody Prozac, they can't solve their problem. Like, you're taking that away. That's interesting. So if you think about like depression, anxiety, even post-traumatic stress through an evolutionary lens, that's adaptive. That keeps you alive. Those symptoms are not to be pushed away. That kept me alive in a war zone. It's not a disease. No, I'm an animal, and it kept me safe. So I like them because they think of things through that perspective. I like Sam Harris a little bit. Yeah, he's kind of cocky, but I like him a little bit.
That's what I thought. I thought when I first,
arrogant.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
Kind of rubs me the wrong way. But Joe Rogan, obviously, I love him. I love Vinay Prasad. Have you watched him?
I don't know who that is, actually.
He's epidemiologist, public health, cancer researcher, but he's all into like, this science is bullshit. The cancer science is even bad. So he talks about the science stuff. And then
does he have a podcast?
Yeah, I was one of his first patron supporters, and I was like, because I saw it immediately, like, this guy's talented. And now all of a sudden he's got like 200,000 subscribers, like in a couple months. Wow, like, he just blew up. So he's going to be on Joe Rogan pretty soon.
What's his name?
Vinay Prasad.
Okay. And that's just what his channel is?
Yeah, just Vinay Prasad.
Okay.
And then, hold on, there's a couple more. Let me think. Oh, I'm like addicted to health podcasts. So I listen to, what's his name? Peter Attia, who's a longevity doctor.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar.
William Liu. I listen to any podcast I can find. He's the one that did like Eat to Beat Disease. So he studies like what foods are anti-inflammatory and anti-cancer, all that kind of stuff. There's a couple other health food people. Oh my God. Rich Roll. If you like Rich Roll. I like Rich Roll. Those kind of people.
Do you have any specific like diet that you're on that you try to follow now or avoid certain things? Or?
Well, this experience, I was already doing like paleo diet before this all happened to me. And I was doing CrossFit like 6 times a week. And now I can't do any of that shit. Like I was running 5Ks once a month. Like I'm just now starting to be able to like hike a longer period of time. But no, I did paleo and then I moved to keto for 2 years because I read about the brain healing properties. So I was like, my brain is screwed. Like I need to get that. So I did keto and now I went to Whole Foods plant-based, but I eat a little bit of meat here and there. Like I eat eggs in the morning. So not completely vegan, but I try to avoid animal products.
Red meat.
Yeah.
Like
and I really didn't even miss it. It was very strange. Like I just kind of cut cold turkey and I was like, I ate pork and it was disgusting after that. My taste buds changed already.
Yeah. That is interesting when you change your diet like that and then you start craving like.
But I'm craving French fries for some reason. And that's not really good. But so I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, you know.
So I'd be interested to know what your perspective is of, or what have you learned, or what has this whole pandemic situation taught you? Because I feel like it's kind of winding down, hopefully now.
I hope so. God. I don't know. It's been so hard on me personally because I was in a van in LA when it started and I had a friend that kind of warned me and I was like, I don't believe you. Like, there's no way the whole thing is going to shut down. He's like, yeah, Ange, let's go to REI. You need to get some supplies. And I was like, no, you're kidding. And he's like, now we're going to the grocery store, get a bunch of groceries. And then like 2 days later, all this shit got shut down. I was like, how did you know that? Like, I just didn't see it coming. And then, it got me really isolated because I've had so many health struggles that any part of health that I have back is because of like me taking really good care of myself. So I'm like, if I get this freaking virus and it like kills me, what did I go through all that for?
Yeah. Oh, so you got a little paranoid about it?
Just scared. I'm just terrified.
Scared, yeah. So what'd you do? You got
just wear a mask everywhere. I didn't go around people for like 2 years. I have only eaten in a restaurant like maybe 3 times in 2 years. Like, I haven't really even been around people like this with no mask on. I didn't know that. I've been in my van, like, living in the boonies by myself. Yeah. Wow. So pretty isolated. And I'll make exceptions. Like, it has to be like... So, for instance, if you give me the virus today, it has to feel like it was worth it. Like, I'm not going to just meet some bullshit stranger.
I have the virus.
I mean, I know you're not. But, you know, like, I'm not going to just, like, go hang out with a crowd of strangers at a bowling alley and then, like, put myself at risk.
Or go
like,
to Costco, get the virus
No,
at
thanks.
Costco.
I haven't been at Costco. No.
Wow. So are you still, you're still being pretty careful about it?
I've been lightening up lately because of the Omicron is like less, you know, less virulent. But you did ask me a deeper question. So like, what is my perspective? The science is not being told correctly. This vaccine push is like completely, I can see right through it. And I just listened to a study earlier about like ivermectin. I'm not anti-vax. I don't want anybody to think that, but I'm just asking you to look behind, like, who is pushing this agenda, who is being paid, who's making billions of dollars off of this. Like, vaccinating 2-year-olds does not sound like a good idea to me. I'm sorry. So I don't really talk about the vaccine ever, but it's bothered me because I know what I've been through and I know what that research says, and it's not much different anywhere else. Yeah. So I feel bad for all the people that just they don't question things. You have to.
That's what I think is interesting about, because I spend a lot of time, getting my media information from online sources. I don't really watch like any mainstream news networks, but I used to. Like I used to watch CNN and stuff like that, not for a long time. But I thought it was interesting when the Supreme Court, when they kind of like bat down that whole vaccine mandate, was like a huge moment, and there was no media coverage at all about that.
Well, even like protests, like I'm not saying that I side with the protesters, but like they're not even showing the protests like at all, like hardly. But no, I saw that coming. I saw Biden's going to push it, and then it's not going to be lawful, but he'll be able to tell Democrats that he pushed it. And even just the political things, like I used to be hardcore Democrat like my entire life. Like I've always voted. But this whole thing has just, I'm like, you're handing this to the Republicans. Because now all these people are going to push back because they didn't want to be mandated. They're at their jobs. They can't eat if they don't have their job. And that's not a way to win somebody's vote, to like make them do something they don't want to do or they're not sure about. without more information that's not like biased from a pharmaceutical company, you know? So I think it's going to really, I have really scary feelings about the next election.
Really?
Because I feel like the Democrats just totally fucked this up.
Well, that's what I mean, because in every country it's different how they're handling the situation. There's been a lot of stuff going on in Canada recently, but yeah, I'll be interested to see how that all, like you said, how that all turns out, because it's like,
I'm a little nervous.
I don't know. You never know. It's like there's, you know, just a lot of crazy stuff going on. I
think they screwed it up real bad. I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
More backlash. Yep. Wow.
So, as far as just for people out there, just what's the best thing that they could do if they are, you know, whatever on these different medications and they're not getting support from like family or doctors, or like you said, you're not anti, you know, these drugs, but
I think you need to be super informed. Like, I mean, if you think about it, like I helped this girl right now. I'm going to leave all her details out so I don't, you know, call her out, but like she had a crisis in her life. They put her in the hospital because that's what you're supposed to do. She gets out of the hospital and she's like, now I'm on all these medications. What am I supposed to do? And it's like, you're in this state of mind that you can't even like think about that in a safe way because you're just like in a crisis, you know? So, the narrative is like, if you have emotional problems, if you have mental symptoms you can't handle, go to a professional. I think that's a lot backwards. Like, we need to be talking to each other. We need to have friends we can call. We need to hang on to each other for dear life, you know, and just, you have to educate yourself. You cannot, these doctors hardly know anything about the drugs they prescribe. And that's true life. Like, ask them, what do you know about antidepressant withdrawal? Just ask them. Don't say anything. Just ask them that question, see what they say. So I just think patients, it doesn't matter if you're on blood pressure medication or seizure medication or, I don't know, COVID prevention, whatever. You need to read all about it. You need to talk to other people. Here's an example. Like, when you buy something from Amazon, don't you read the reviews?
Oh yeah, I read the reviews for everything that I buy online.
When you buy a new car, do you read the consumer reports?
Course,
right.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that with medications?
Yeah, we should.
We don't. So that's what I would beg everybody to do, is read and educate yourself.
More research. Wow. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's such a difficult, huge issue. And especially when so many people in this country are, it's like and the pandemic, I think, has only probably increased.
Made it worse.
Yeah,
30-40% increase in prescribing rates.
Really?
Of antidepressants and
30
benzos.
to 40, wait, 30.
It went up. So like
No
the prescribing rate is kind of like this every year. It went up. There's a spike of prescribing.
Wow, that doesn't surprise me. That's crazy.
And so then what's going to happen when we are done with the pandemic and people are like, wait a minute, I got on this 8 months ago. What do I do? Or I want to have a kid. What am I going to do? Is it going to hurt my kid? Or, you know, they'll leave you on for life, truly. I mean, nobody's going to tell you like, hey, maybe you should come off of that now.
Yeah.
Pandemic is over.
Wow. That's just like so crazy to me.
And
it's
like,
amazing.
think about that. Like, how does that impact society?
I know.
I couldn't stand I couldn't stand up to take a shower for 2 years. Like,
my God,
if you're coming off of a drug, like, how is that going to impact your life, your ability to work, raising your kids? And
it could really mess you up for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's amazing, all that you've been through, and the fact that like you could just come to a total stranger's house and like, be totally chill and normal and have a conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
amazing. You can't tell, can you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I've had lots of brain, practice trying to heal myself.
Yeah.
Without pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
Well, that's why I like doing this too. Is I just like talking to people, you know, in a like unrestricted, I don't know, way, and that just seems like it gets harder and harder these days. And
everybody's looking at their phone. I mean, I see it like in traffic, because I think because I've been living in a van, I'm a little bit more connected to nature. I'm a little bit slower.
Sure.
I don't like sit in traffic all day to go to my job to pick up my kid from childcare. Like, my life is a little different, so it gives me a different perspective. And like, even at the post office today, I was like, I wanted to talk to the people at the post office, but they won't even look at you.
Nobody has time.
No.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing about living in, because you can live in a city of whatever, Phoenix is huge, it's a big city. You can live in a city and be surrounded by millions of people and be totally alone.
Totally alone.
Okay, or you can be on a van out in the middle of nowhere and be alone too.
Yep.
But that's the biggest thing. Like, I think that's why I like traveling, is because it breaks you out of your like bubble and your routine.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many people, you're right, like they go to their job and then they go home and they watch Netflix and like they go to the grocery store once a week and like that's their life.
And no wonder you're depressed. And no wonder you want to take Prozac, you know, like I don't know. I just feel like it sounds like cheesy or cliche or something, but like I want friends. I want people to support. You want a community. You know, I think van life has a community pretty decent, but I'm still working on getting in there, you know. But I think we need community more than we need Prozac and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
that's the biggest piece in life is like having good friends. And
even just like one or two.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like life-saving, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any, you mentioned Austin, or are there any cities that you would be interested or you'd like to go to travel to?
Oh man. Well, some of my favorite cities so far was Jackson, Wyoming, Bend, Oregon. I love Austin, Texas. That's probably my second home because when I was married, we lived in Austin. So, you know, I have that history, but every time I go there, I just fall in love with it all over again. I loved Bend, Oregon. So charming. Let me think what else. But I don't know, where am I going to go next? That's a good question. I think for the, I'm going to explore like southern Utah and Colorado for the summer. Cool. And I have to go up to Washington State in May. And then I'm going to head back to the Midwest to see my family for like a week or two. And then head off again to Vermont and Maine because I sped through it last year. And the pandemic was raging and it was like pretty restrictive where I could go and everything. So I want to explore that again. So I'm heading up to the East Coast and then maybe Florida for the winter. I haven't been to Southeast is the only quadrant I haven't been to yet in the van.
That sounds fun. Sounds very fun.
Yeah.
Where do you spend most of your activity and time on social media? Like if people wanted to follow what you're doing?
Probably Instagram right now. I'm just enjoying playing with video and reels and just I'm having fun time learning that whole thing. Probably Instagram. My Facebook page also it's a page. So look up Being Human RV either on Facebook or Instagram, but they both get the same update. So those two.
Okay, awesome.
And videos on YouTube will come very soon. Maybe by the time you put this up, we'll see.
Okay, sick, awesome. Yeah. Is there any, just as far as when you're out there, I don't know, do you have like satellites for us to stay connected?
I have a visible internet. It's really just a phone, visible cell phone. It's like, it's on Verizon towers, but there's no actual physical store to go to.
Oh, okay.
But it works for me.
Wow,
that's my
cool.
hotspot.
So, it's a hotspot. Okay, that's sick. That's why I was wondering how you're like staying connected and stuff like that.
But I don't have great Wi-Fi sometimes, so you might find me in a Lowe's parking lot or McDonald's or Dairy Queen or whoever has free internet.
Leeching off of their internet?
Yeah, I do. Whole Foods is a popular one. Go get something to eat and then steal their internet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there like, do you watch Netflix and stuff like that? Or
no,
do you
not really.
Okay.
I'm really addicted to YouTube podcasts, long form.
Yeah, cool.
Just listen to all those people.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Yeah.
My brain is filled with useless knowledge and some of it's useful. That's what I do.
So, are there any, obviously, Rogan, you would love to do that podcast. Are there any other podcasts that you'd like to try to get on out there? Or I
haven't thought of that.
Because you said you were doing a lot of interviews for Medicating Normal.
Yeah.
So are you?
We were pitched to Rogan, and we haven't heard back yet, so I have no idea. But I don't know. They always seem to think that I'm like, Angie can't go by herself. She needs a professional with her, and it just really bothers me. Yeah. I'm like, I'm okay by myself. Like I can handle it. But so I don't know if I would be on there by myself or not. But maybe I'll write a book, and then one day I'll be on Joe Rogan by myself. We'll see.
And what? I'm sorry, you mentioned the book. What would that be?
Just about my life and just and like what I've learned and I don't know. My story's kind of sad. If like it's kind of messed up. But lots of trauma. But but also like the human spirit, like how you're stronger than you think you are. You know, even when you like want to kill yourself for 2 years, there's something in you that's like, I want to hang on. Yeah. You know, so I think I have a lot to say about that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. I think a lot of like the people who have the most fucked up stories or have gone through the most shit are like the most interesting people because they've like gone through some shit.
Like David Goggins.
David Goggins.
David Goggins. Like he's like that. Like the thing I can relate to about him is like, he's got that edge. He feels that edge and then he pushes it farther. And most people don't do that, but I feel it with suffering. Like I feel that hard edge of suffering. Like I can't live one more minute. I just have to end it. And it's like, no, you can count to 10 and you're still here, you know, or you can count your heartbeats for 4 hours, you know, like, I mean, I felt that I can't, this is it. And I was like, no, you just got to hang on one more day. You can do this for an hour. You can do this for 2 hours. And that's kind of how I almost like feel choked up talking about it, because I mean, that was 2 years of my life. Like, just hang on. You're almost done. Just one more minute, you can't let them win. So it's like that thing, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's physical. You can push it in all those directions,
So is there anything else that you do as far as like a routine or something that you do that makes you happier, you look forward to every day? Is there something like that you do? Or
well, I think that's a good question. I think I think I'm not always in the flow, like I said, especially lately, because just stress. Like, I'm just kind of bogged down a little bit. But I do, like the other day, I took a walk in the desert, and I just go really slow. I turn my phone off. Everything's quiet. I just listen. I look at things. I look at these beautiful rocks, and I don't take them. I just like, wow, like think about, where did that rock come from? Like, holy shit, this is like millions and millions of years, and it was dirt, and it got, like, I think about like all these intricate things. Or I can find joy like looking at an orange, or looking at a guy's face with a bunch of wrinkles, and I think about like, where did he come from? Like this beautiful man. So I've learned to appreciate like really, really tiny things, and to just like for instance, people would say, don't go to Mexico, it's not safe. I'm like, no, I'm going. Like, I figured out the route I'm going to go. It's pretty safe. It's fine. I'm not going to live in that fear. But like, I could be dead next month. So if I'm close, I'm going to Mexico.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just you say that, because there's this other, I don't know if you've seen his channel on YouTube. His name is Mav. Have you seen that kid?
No.
Okay. He's like this young kid. I think he's from Michigan, and he actually just bought a house, but he's been doing like he has a F-150, but it has like a camper in the back. Ooh. But he just went down to Mexico recently, and he was down there for like, I don't know, a few weeks. Months. Yeah. And that's exactly like, he's just down there fucking driving around, like cooking out the back of his truck, like just doing his thing.
Wow.
Like, it's no big deal. And like you said, some people are like, oh my God, is it
Somebody
safe?
Told me that on Facebook, like, don't go there, it's dangerous, people get murdered. I'm like, people get murdered in Phoenix. What's the difference?
Wow.
Just, you be smart about it. But my point is, like, if you don't live now, I mean, people get cancer, people have car accidents, people get coronavirus, and you die. Like, if you don't live right now, this is it. And we always think like, I got time. No, you don't have time. You don't know how much time you got. You better take it now. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. It's because your health is precious, especially your health. Like, when you lose your health, trust me, it's really hard to get it back.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Super hard.
Your health and time are the two most valuable assets, in my opinion.
And the people that love you.
Yes, yeah. Friends and family.
Friends and family.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'll wrap this up here, but I just watched this documentary on Netflix called The Alpinist. Fucking craziest documentary. You got to watch it. Like, if you can get on Netflix, this kid, I guess, so alpining is a sport where people, I didn't know that much about it, but people just like go out and like climb all this crazy shit. No ropes.
It the ice pick climbing thing?
Yes, it's like no ropes.
Wow.
Like, you're like climbing the craziest shit ever, and like you could just fall and fucking die. Like, this story, his story is amazing, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but like, has a sad ending. But like, it's kind of like, it brings it back to what you just said. Like, his philosophy was to like just like go and just like go and fucking do it, and like do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And like, you don't have much, you know, everybody's gonna die eventually, so it's like
nobody's getting out of here alive.
Yeah. Damn.
This is it.
Well, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you coming over here and doing this.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
I'll be interested to continue to follow your journey. And I thought that whole Medicating Normal documentary was very interesting, and I think all that stuff is great as far as like information getting out to people about how can, like, I'm the same way. Like, there's like medical science, like all that stuff is amazing. Like, obviously if I break my arm, I'm gonna go to the fucking doctor, and like, but I do think like you can't go overboard to where like everybody is on, like, you want to fix everything with some drug, and like I don't want to be on that.
It's not good.
Yeah.
No. I think we just did an interview with a forensic toxicologist a couple weeks ago, and she said any more than 2 drugs in combination puts you at a way greater risk of adverse events. Like 2. And I think the average amount of people that are on polypharmacy are like 5 or more. Like, it's not, usually one leads to the next, leads to the next, leads to the next. So once you get on that train, man, it's hard to get off. So yeah, there's
just all these things people need to learn about.
That's why I don't want to keep beating this down, but like,
Yeah.
I wonder what the evolution of the industry of being, you know, a psychiatrist or whatever it is. Like, because if you're, like you said, you've met a lot of people who are honest with themselves and they know that they've hurt people. So it's like, what are they going to do to change? I wonder what the
I don't know. I feel like there's a guild behind psychiatry and medical, just all medical doctors, right? They want to protect the knowledge base that they use to practice. It's paying their bills. Like, you can't, I had a psychiatrist friend. It's actually on our, it's a reel on our Instagram. If you go on Medicating Normal, it's a female psychiatrist. And she literally says, like, Angie, I have $300,000 in student loans. This is my job. Like,
I have to keep doing this.
This is what I learned. This is what I do. You can't tell me everything I learned is bullshit. You can't tell me that there's no studies to take people off drugs. Like, this is what I spent 12 years in school learning. So like, it's inconvenient when you go to your doctor and say, I'm having an adverse event, the doctor's like, what do you mean? That doesn't exist. Like, they can't even see that. It's like what do they call it? Willful blindness.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see it, because if I saw it, if my doctor really
I would feel bad.
Yeah. If my doctor really saw how bad he hurt me, he'd probably kill himself, you know? I tried, but he didn't want to listen to me. So I fired him.
I fired him. Like Donald Trump,
yeah, you fired.
I think a lot of that went on too, like with the pain medication too,
that
right?
Too, same thing happened. It's happening right now with benzodiazepines. It's the same thing.
Okay, can we also talk about real quick so Jordan Peterson, he was on.
Yes.
So is that an antidepressant?
No, it's a benzo, the same exact drug that I was on.
It's a pain medication.
No, benzo. It's an anti-anxiety.
Oh, anti-anxiety. Okay.
Yeah, and fun fact, we had two of our experts on Michaela Peterson's podcast, and she did a special screening with us. So their whole family's seen the film. I tried to get her to come to a screen. We had an in-person screening in Toronto before the pandemic, and I actually got a hold of her, and she was actually answering me. And then she's like, I can't go because I'm in New York. And I was like, damn it. So she almost came, but I was like, this is what's happening to your dad. You have to come. Wow. So we have a small relationship with her, but yeah, her dad's going through the same thing I did. And like, everything you see that he's gone through, I've gone through the same thing, and it's fucking horrific. I didn't go fly to Russia to get detox. I knew better than to do that, but there's people that try those crazy things and it doesn't work because the damage is done, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, again, thank you so much, and good luck to you. And like I said, it'll be interesting to follow you. And if people want to know, so Being Human RV on YouTube, same with Instagram
and Facebook. Yep.
Okay, Facebook.
That's about it. Yep. Yeah. I think I have a Substack, but I haven't written on there yet.
Okay.
But anyway, just follow me on one of those and you'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see what I'm up to.
Damn. Okay, Angie Peacock. Thank you very much. Austin. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.